The new Marvel Snap Marvel Rivals collaborative season is here in Marvel Snap. Let's talk about the new cards that you're going to get this season, because there's 7 that you can get this season, which is crazy. 5 of those you can spend your keys on. I'm going to walk you through which ones and which weeks I'm going to be spending my keys and why I'm skipping so many this month in lieu of what is happening in January. We'll look into those January weeks as well. Now, if you're interested in Marvel Rivals based off this collab or other creators going there, and you are brand new to Marvel Rivals and Overwatch like I am, you can subscribe. I made a new channel because I'm intrigued by Marvel Rivals. I've never played a combat, team-based shooter like this. I've never played Overwatch. I'm probably gonna open it up and just get dunked on. But it's gonna be fun. I came to Marvel Snap because of my love for the Marvel IP. I feel like Marvel Rivals is doing good with the Marvel IP. I'm excited to have another game to enjoy Marvel. So you can subscribe to that channel if you'd like to see me fail at Marvel Rivals. Enough about that. Let's get back to Marvel Snap. Before we get into the cards, though, I wanted to talk about something that I mentioned at the end of my ranting video complaining about the series drop and card acquisition and all those things happening in Marvel Snap currently. I wasn't going to share this, even though I talked about it a little bit, but then somebody commented, most recently, Naughty Oddity, on that video, and they were pretty vulnerable, which I appreciate. I appreciate the discussion we were able to have. Thanks for commenting on the video and sharing what you did. You made me decide that I actually wanted to share this, and it combines well with what happened over this past weekend here in the United States. It was Thanksgiving. We celebrated the season of thankfulness, that type of thing. I promise this connects to cards and getting the new cards and spotlight caches and all those things. It was a quote that my boss shared with me before we went on Thanksgiving break. It is from David Steindl Rast, whose name I'm pretty sure I mispronounced, but this is what he said. He said, "It is not joy that makes us grateful, it is gratitude that makes us joyful." And I think that's pretty impactful in life, but how does that connect to cards in Marvel Snap? I talked about this a little bit at the end of that rant video, that it's not the new card that's going to make Marvel Snap more enjoyable. To some extent, I understand that if you don't have Thanos, you can't play a Thanos deck. To some extent, you need the cards to enjoy playing Marvel Snap. I get that. But in a reasonable extent, not the new card is not good, is what's going to finally push you over that hill of more fun in Marvel Snap than you've already had. That is truly just the mindset of our modern consumerist world, particularly that mindset that mobile games and live service games really prey on, that idea of FOMO and that feeling of trying to fulfill that desire for more, the desire for fulfillment in our life with this new thing we need to acquire, whether we spend in-game resources or in real-life resources to get that. If you can get to the mindset that it is not the new card that's going to make Marvel Snap more enjoyable, but using what cards you have and focusing on the cards you want to get to enjoy Marvel Snap, to some extent to be grateful, to have gratitude with the decks you have, I promise it will make Marvel Snap more enjoyable and you'll have more fun with it. So with that in mind, let's talk about the cards. Thank you, Naughty Oddity, and so many people who watched that video and subscribed and commented. I loved being able to talk with each of you. So let me know your thoughts on that mindset, if it's been helpful to you, and also what cards you're spending your keys on. Let's talk about what cards I'm spending my keys on. The first card that you'll be able to spend your keys or tokens on was released today, and that is Luna Snow, a Series 5 card that on reveal add an ice cube to each side of this location. So that means your side of the location and your opponent's side of the location. And that ice cube as a 1 cost 0 at the start of each turn, get +1 energy, then destroy this if your side is full here. So it's not going to be like White Widow where if the side is full it destroys immediately. It's going to be after it gives you the energy at the start of the turn. So as a ramp card, both you and your opponent are going to be getting energy. As we've seen with ramp cards, there's always some condition that has to be met or something that some trade-off, like Electro, you can only play 1 card type of thing. Luna Snow as a card, if we scroll all the way down, is going to be bundled with X-23, which is a soon-to-be dropped 2 Series 4 card, and then Lady Deathstrike, which is an existing Series 4 card. For multiple reasons, I feel pretty confident that this is a week that I'm going to skip. I'm going to pay close attention to the data on Luna Snow and look into the decks that people are brewing with Luna Snow, but for the most part, I'm not going to get this bundle on this week. Destroy is not a deck or an archetype that I play. I'm missing both X-23 and Lady Strike, which I feel like everyone has X-23 at this point, but I just don't play Destroy, and so it's not worth it for me to waste my resources on 2 cards that I'm not really going to use. Yeah, sure, they have their niches and places, but outside of Destroy, not really beneficial. The reason that I'm even more okay with that is because I recognize Luna Snow is just not a card that I need. I think she's going to be able to do some cool things, but just not my playstyle. I don't typically play in ramp. I don't typically play in a clog style deck. Like, it just doesn't match the decks that I like to play. Sure, the decks that I like to play could benefit from energy, but for the most part, the way that I like to play, I don't need Luna Snow, and, of course, I will have FOMO. I will be missing out on the new card, but for the most part, I'm okay skipping this week. I think, though, if you are a person who likes to play ramp, likes to play clog, Luna Snow is going to allow you to do some pretty cool things. Like, it has a new way of ramping out things that's really, really unique, and so I think it's like a ramp card, and if that's the type of deck that you like to play, I think this is a lot of fun, particularly if you have been looking for a type of ramp card and you're missing something like Hope Summers, then, Luna Snow could be a fantastic fit for you. So those are my early kind of thoughts on Luna Snow. I think she's going to be an okay card, and for that, I'm okay skipping my resources. Next, we have Penni Parker, which is a 2/3 card, Series 5. On reveal, add Spider to your hand. When this merges, meaning Penni Parker, you get +1 energy next turn. So again, some weird type of ramp thing. And so in order to merge, you have Spider, which is added to your hand as is 3/3. On reveal, merge this with one of your cards here. You can move that card next turn. So in essence, Hulkbuster, but a 3 cost and allows you to move. So of course, a nice addition to Penny that you can merge with Penny and get that energy that she gives you. Of course, we have been confirmed by the devs that this does work with Agony or Hulkbuster or even Symbiote Spider-Man, which is a card that I wouldn't have even thought of, which works, which opens up the doors for Penni Parker even more. Which is interesting as well, because same thing, I don't really play ramp, and so already I'm trying to understand, like, cool, I can merge with this card and get extra energy. What would I do with that? Like, I just haven't played ramp. I'm not, like, sure, I could look up a deck guide for ramp and figure out what's a good ramp deck to play, but I just haven't played ramp, and so I don't know what I would even do if I had extra energy, which of course is interesting. So Penni Parker, if we scroll down again, comes with Sasquatch, which is also a soon-to-be dropped to Series 4 card, and then Gladiator, which I can't remember is Series 3 or 4, which is a pretty good card for the Fenris Wolf archetype, which has come around. This is a week that I'm a little more... This is a week that I'm also pretty sure I'm going to skip. I'm going to see how things go with Penni Parker. I'm going to see where my collection is at. But these are two cards that I think are interesting. Again, Sasquatch, there isn't a deck out there that I feel like Sasquatch is needed for that deck to be complete. There's other, like Bounce as an example. There's other big finishers that you can put in there. Particularly Gore is a really big finisher with Sasquatch. Of course, Sasquatch does its own unique thing, but I don't think that it's a needed card for any type of archetype. Of course, if you get Sasquatch or you have Sasquatch, it can supplement other cards that you may not have. Gladiator, of course, is a pretty powerful card at 3/8 and being able to destroy your opponent's card. It does its thing, and it does its things pretty well. So this is a week where if Penni Parker is doing really good things, I'd be okay gambling because I don't have either of these cards, and I'd be okay if I got one. It wouldn't be the worst thing ever. I'd have a place where I could put them. But they're not cards that I'm hungering for. And again, while I think Penni Parker is cool, it's just, I don't even know how I would use Penni Parker. Of course, if I got Penni Parker, I could put my brain into figuring it out, but I just don't feel a need for it, so that's how I'm spending my keys that week. Moving on, we get the next week, which is Doom 2099 as a 4/2, and after each turn, add a Doombot 2099 to a random location if you played exactly one card. So kind of Athena type thing. And then that Doombot as a 4/2 ongoing, your other Doombots and Doom have +1 power. Again, we have been confirmed with the release of this season that this combines with regular Doctor Doom. So this is going to give +1 power to your Doom 2099 and the other Doombots, including regular Doctor Doom will get +1 power, and the 2 Doombots that he sends out will be +1 power. So you could get a lot of energy out, a lot of ongoing effects, especially if you somehow ramp using these other cards that we have. You'd be able to get something out for Onslaught, and then you could play Doom on 5 technically with ramp, and then Onslaught on 6, right? So maybe these ramp options make sense if Doom is something that you're really wanting to do. So if we scroll down again, Doom that week comes with 2 cards. Dakin as, I think, a Series 4 card no one really cares about, and Meek, a Series 4 card that also no one really cares about, and has been power crept in discard by Scorn significantly. Kind of frustrating. The one good card was going to be Hitmonkey. They replaced him for Dakin. Whatever. I've complained enough. This is a week that I'm going to be spending probably all of my tokens. let me rephrase that. This is a week that I will, if needed, spend all my tokens to get Doom 2099. It's a card that I don't think is going to be like exceptional, but I just think is going to be fun. And so, because I play Snap for fun, I'm excited to get this card. I love Discard. It's my personal favorite archetype. Dawkin and Meek can fit in those. However, I'm not going to say that either one of these is a card that is particularly competitive. And of course, in my existing discard decks, they are not lacking without these cards. And in fact, I don't even think that I would replace an existing card in my discard decks with either one of these, because the cards that are in there are doing their thing really well, and I don't need either of these cards. However, I don't have either of them. If I got them, they work with my playstyle. However, Doom 2099 is a card that I'm excited about enough. I have enough keys that I'm going to be spending. Again, if you're lower on resources, again, I hate telling people what to do, but if you're lower on resources, I don't think that Doom is a card that you pull unless you've got 4. I don't think he's worth gambling for, if that makes sense. Again, especially with the cards that he's combined with, if you're going for Doom and you get Dawkin, you're going to be pretty upset. If you've got the resources, I think it's worth spending the keys, even 4 if you have to, but gambling, I don't know if Doom's going to be worth it. Of course, wait for the data and see how that goes. So scrolling all the way back up, the next week we have another Series 5 card, Bruce Banner, as a 2-drop, which his ability, when you end turn with unspent energy, 25% chance to Hulk out, which we have been confirmed just turns into a regular 6/12 Hulk. Scrolling all the way down again, his week he comes with High Evo and Ravonna Renslayer, which of course, pretty complimentary cards. I like when they do this in the Spotlight weeks, where Bruce Banner, of course, goes really well in a High Evo deck. High Evo, you end turns with unspent energy. Bruce Banner is a card that wants that energy, which is kind of cool. Of course, High Evo could be combined with Penni Parker and also, the Snow lady whose name I already forgot? Not Elsa Snow. Emma. What the heck is her name? Luna Snow, yes, right? So you could use those ramp abilities of those other cards to get the extra energy to have Bruce Banner Hulk out. And then, of course, Ravonna Renslayer is a pretty phenomenal card in all the decks that want her. There's nothing that you can really do to replace Ravonna. Of course, Psylocke can kind of do what Ravonna does in some Mr. Negative decks, but there's other decks that benefit from Ravonna, and there's not really a card that can replace her. So this is a week that I think would be pretty good to spend your keys on if you've got them. One, because Bruce Banner is a cool card and is going to do some cool things. If he does Hulk out, that's pretty phenomenal. And of course, if you're lower in your collection, being able to add a whole new archetype of High Evolutionary and a new card to go in that deck is a pretty big deal if you're a lower collection level. So I could see for lower collection level people, this being a really worthwhile week, because Ravonna is a phenomenal card, one of my favorites. High Evo unlocks a whole new archetype, and Bruce Banner gives you a card to go within that archetype. So, pretty good cards, especially at a lower collection level. For myself, I have Ravonna. These other 2 cards I'm missing. I don't think that I'm going to go this week, and it's just because I'm not particularly excited about it. It's not because High Evo is a deck. I've always wanted to play High Evo since I joined Marvel Snap. I thought it was so cool. I was like waiting until I could unlock those cool cards like Cyclops. But I just don't care at any point. It's just not an archetype that I'm interested in playing. I don't think it's particularly competitive. I mean, I'm not longing to play High Evo. Sure, if I got High Evo, I might try it out once or twice, but I'm not longing for it, and Bruce Banner isn't a card that I'm particularly stoked about. I think it's cool, but I'm okay saving my resources, again, with the mindset of spending them in January. So, a week that me personally, I just don't need these cards. Nothing totally thrills me about them. I don't think they're going to be game-changing or super meta in any way, so I'm okay. Again, missing out on some cards. So we will go to the last week, which is a card that I'm probably most excited about. If I had to rank him, it'd be this card, Rocket, Racoon, and Groot, and then Doom 2099 behind it. So Rocket, Racoon, and Groot as a 3/3 card. Their ability, which is kind of long, you can move this once. After your opponent plays a card, you'll steal 1 power from it. Oh, actually, sorry, you can ignore that. So you steal 1 power from the card. You probably can't read that because it's so small. But you can move this once, and if your opponent plays a card in this location, steal 1 power from it, which pretty cool card. If we scroll all the way down again, we will see that this week is combined with one pretty big 6-drop Blob, which has his place, of course, in Thanos decks and Arishem decks, and then probably the worst card in the game, Selene, which I already got from a previous Spotlight week as that 4th card. So this is a week that tokens are hard. I have way more keys than I do tokens, and I particularly am missing quite a few Series 5 cards, so I'm saving up my tokens for a card. Like, example, Sage is a card I'm really saving up for, and then Nico are 2 cards that I'm just, like, anxious to get, so I hold my tokens for those cards. So I'm okay. Of course, I'm going to get a dumb Celine variant, potentially, that I don't really like. Blob, sure, I might put him in my Airsham deck, but, you know, I'm not, like, anxious to get Blob, but Rocket Raccoon is a card that I'm pretty excited about, so I'll take the risk because I've got the keys. However, I'm kind of sad because I'm missing a card that's going to synergize pretty well with Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and that is Gamora. Sorry, not Gamora, Nebula. Oh my gosh, put Nebula and Rocket Raccoon in the same location, and they either got to let your Nebula build up, or they got to have their energy stolen from Rocket Raccoon and Groot. So really, really interesting card. Of course, Shadow King going to be a huge tech card this week with Rocket Raccoon and Groot. But this is a week that December 31st, I am going to be polling this week because Rocket Raccoon and Groot is a card that I'm really excited for. Again, I'll brew up what I'm going to do with them when I get there, but that's how I'm spending my tokens. So as a refresh, Luna Snow, 80% skipping unless something crazy happens with the data. Just a card that I'm not super anxious about. Penni Parker, I'm going to watch more closely. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm going to say 60% sure I'm skipping this week, but the cards in it are okay enough that if Penni Parker's doing cool things, I'll pull for that week. I do actually think I'm leaning close. I'm going to say I'm at 50-50 on Penni Parker. I might pull for her. Doom 2099 for sure. Spending my keys and getting him the rest of the week with him, I'm okay about. Bruce Banner, skipping, and then Rocket and Raccoon and Groot, spending my keys to get. Lastly, let's talk about the new free card we're going to be able to get, which, as you can see, for free with the super fun game mode High Voltage, which is coming back. So this is a Series 4 card, Lasher, a 2/2, really unique ability. Activate, afflict an enemy card here with a negative power equal to this card's power. Which, my goodness, talk about a cool card to combine with cards like Galacta, this card's Season Pass. And I like that it's Activate 1 because, having this card being on reveal and combining it with something like Grandmaster and Absorbing Man or bouncing it would just be extremely annoying. Additionally, with an Activate, it gives you a chance to be able to build up this card and then activate it. And of course, wait for your enemy cards to be there. Of course, if they're on reveal and there's no cards there, it doesn't help you. So I like that it's an Activate. Cool, free card. Nothing to say about it. I'm going to play High Voltage because it's super fun, and I'll get the card and brew with it when we get there. So briefly, my thoughts on the Season Pass card of Galacta. I thought she was going to be pretty mid as I thought about her upcoming this week, and I was like, we've had some pretty phenomenal Season Pass cards. We had, if I remember their order right, we had Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, which is one of the best 2-drops in the game. Then we had Agent Venom, which pretty much broke the meta, phenomenal card. And then we had Surtur, 3 really impressive Season Pass cards in a row, and then Galacta just kind of felt meh. However, I began to play some decks with her and been brewing up a little bit. Some video on that later today. Really, really fun. And I also think because it just pulls out this archetype and kind of card. Wow, I guess it's time to stop talking. Okay, Galacta, really, really fun. Which I think just pulls out cards that are fun to play. Like, it pulls out, I wouldn't go far as calling it an archetype, but combos that, like, Black Panther and Arnim Zola, like, phenomenal combo that is just kind of, like, people play it every once in a while, but then it just disappears, and, like, people don't play it because it's, like, super telegraphed and not the most exciting thing. But, man, what a great card to go with that combo, and, playing that combo is fun, of course, as it has been. Seems like every counter for it I've run into today as I've been playing it. But, I actually really am enjoying Galacta. I think she's kind of niche in what she's doing. Like, she's not going to... Which Surtur was also really neat, so I don't know why I'm saying that. But, what she does is pretty narrow, but also really, really fun. So why did I go through this? Why am I saving so many of my keys? Because I say, all this as I've gone through these cards that I'm not spending on, I'm skipping. I say that someone who's sitting at 13, almost 14 keys. I'm really close to getting another one. It's because of January, and one, because these, spotlight caches are horrendous, and just I don't play these cards. But we look into January with what is data mined, and my goodness, I'm really excited. So let's go through those cards really quickly, and then we'll be done. So the first week of January of I think this is going to be called the Dark Avenger season, with a Season Pass card, Iron Patriot, I think is what it is. Pretty cool card, actually. Excited for that one. But let's just talk about the cards in the Spotlight Cache. So the first week, we have Victoria Hand as a new card, whose ability is ongoing. your cards created in your hand have a +2 power. So really, really cool card in the shield archetype. I think is going to be really, really cool. And then I'm like stoked for this card. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to that shield archetype, and a fun archetype that is really, really fun to play, even as uncompetitive as it is. So this is going to be a cool addition to that. That week, we also have cards of Grandmaster and then Hawkeye K. Bishop. I think this is one of the best weeks you can spend your keys on. If you are a lower collection level, you're hoarding your resources, hoard them for this week. I think this is one of the best weeks we're going to have in a while. One, Victoria Hand just looks like a really, really cool card. Those shield cards you get pretty early. There's a lot of cards that can be complementary to this. Maybe Agent 13 is going to be a meta-relevant card again. And then, obviously, Grandmaster is going to be a huge addition to that. If you Grandmaster your Agent Coulson and you just got 4 cards in hand, they're all loving Victoria Hand. Whether you play him with Victoria Hand or not, Grandmaster is a card that a lot of people are missing, but a really, really good card that fits in a lot of great places and does a lot of great things. Really enjoy Grandmaster as a card. I already talked about Hawkeye Kate Bishop, as I talked about the Season Pass cards. One of the best 2-drops in the game. One of my favorite cards, also just one of my favorite characters in all of comics. Phenomenal card, really, really diverse card. And this, I'm not particularly like a Spotlight variant person. I typically don't like spending my keys to get variants, but this is one that I'm actually excited for. Nonetheless, fantastic card. Moving on to the next week, talking about fantastic weeks. Well, we got another one right in a row. January is pretty huge. I don't know what is happening here with this art, but Bullseye is the new card, which is Activate. Discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different enemy cards with -2 power. Like, oh my gosh, that's cracked. Coming in with Black Swan and then Nocturne. I say it's a phenomenal week because of Bullseye. My goodness. But then also Black Swan. Super phenomenal card that really nothing can replicate. I spent my tokens on Black Swan because I wanted that badly in Bounce. I enjoyed Bounce so much. Been a fantastic addition to a Bounce deck that I've really had a lot of fun with. Nothing can do what Black Swan does. Fantastic card. Really, really good card. And then Nocturne, pretty slept on card as soon as she went down 1 power. I don't have Nocturne, but location control is a big deal, and Nocturne is a pretty good card. So really, really phenomenal week. I think Bullseye is going to be huge, as you know, especially if you Modoc your hand full of Swarm, and you've already discarded Swarm once, so you go from 2 Swarm to 4 Swarm, and then you have Scorn in hand, so you've got 5 cards. That's -10 power that's hitting the board, plus the 2 power that you're going to get from Scorn. That's huge. I'm super excited for this really unique thing that's going to be happening to discard with Bullseye here. So, phenomenal week. I'm really excited to spend my keys on. Kind of bummer that, I hate this Black Swan variant, and I spent my tokens on it. That's what I get for not waiting. However, we didn't have the data mines. So, moving on to the next week, we have Moonstone, which is an ongoing card. Has the ongoing effects of your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here, which is really, really interesting considering Victoria Hand is a 2 cost ongoing card. There's not a lot of ongoing cards that cost 1, 2, and 3. So, Moonstone, I think, is kind of I'm not stoked about Moonstone. But this week we got really good cards of Kyera and Marvel Boy. Again, really cool thing that these 2 cards synergize really, really well. Zoo is a deck that you can get pretty early on in your collection level. And so, even if you're missing a card like, what's her name? Missing it, the card that puts a 1 cost in every location. What's her name? It will come to me later. My goodness. What is her name? Someone will remember in the comments. Even if you're missing that card, whatever her name is, you've got cards like Kazar, however you say it, Blue Marvel, Squirrel Girl, Ant-Man, those types of cards that Kyera and Marvel Boy both want to be in those Zoo decks, and Marvel Boy is one of the best cards in the game. I really love Marvel Boy. I don't have Kyera. So this is a week that I'm excited for. I actually also really, really like this variant, so I'd be okay if I got it, and then I'm excited to have Kyera. Moving on to the last week of January, we have Ares, which is a new card. On reveal, compare the power of the top 3 cards of both decks. If your total is higher, +6 power. Super interesting way to just get power on the board. A 12-drop card is just insane. I don't know if we're going to... there's so many questions I have about this card. I said 12-drop. 12-power card is kind of crazy. If you get Blob in whatever week he's in this season, probably a pretty good combination with Blob because you're going to want to have pretty heavy cards in your deck. Super interesting. I think going to be a pretty cracked card, especially when we combine them with Kang and Misery. Misery is a unique card. You know, a lot of people slept on Misery and didn't have Misery when Misery was released. So, you know, Misery does what Misery does, and so I don't really have anything to say about Misery. But Kang, what really interesting. I don't know if Second Dinner is just dunking on us and saying, you know, we think Ares is going to be amazing, so here's a joke of Kane, or if they're going to rework Kane before he is released. We'll see, but this is a week that I'm like question mark on because I have so many questions about these cards. But before that, you have 3 weeks in a row where I think you could spend all of your keys these 3 weeks and be happy because they're pretty amazing cards. So that is the reason that I'm saving my keys this season in anticipation for next season. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on this season's and next season's spotlight caches and what you should spend your keys on, what I'm spending my keys on. Lots of cards to go through, but really, and I mean this sincerely, even as taboo or cheesy as it sounds, it is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. Keep that in mind in your mentality as you go through your collection and Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is a game to play for fun. Don't let mobile games and Second Dinner and, you know, this type of mindset that goes so heavily into the FOMO, you know, blindside you into that one thing being what you need for fun when you can have fun with what you've got. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody who's been subscribing and commenting on the videos. I really appreciate it. Let me know what cards you're spending your keys on, and I'd love to discuss that more with all of you. And then if you've got Galacta, fun decks coming out in the next video. So anyway, thanks for watching. Happy snapping.